Today on Ignite&Scale, we're discussing a topic that sits at the heart of one of the biggest frustrations consumers and businesses face when buying and owning vehicles. For decades, most of the automotive industry has been built around selling cars. Yet for customers, buying a vehicle can be stressful, time-consuming, and uncertain. Our guest believes the industry has focused too heavily on transactions and not enough on ownership. In 2018, he founded Find & Finance after identifying what he saw as a fundamental gap in the market. Customers didn't need another car salesperson, they needed a trusted advisor to help them navigate the entire journey. Since then, the business has grown around a simple philosophy: making vehicle ownership simple, safe, and special. Today, Find & Finance operates across the retail, prestige, and commercial vehicle markets, helping customers source, finance, manage, maintain, and ultimately resell vehicles through a fully managed vehicle lifecycle process. I'm delighted to welcome Mike Kirby, founder of Find & Finance. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Really happy to be here.
Well, let's go straight into it. I mean, let's start at the beginning. You spent several years with Close Brothers Motor Finance before you launched Find & Finance in 2018. What did you see in the industry that made you believe there was an opportunity to build something special?
To be honest, I've been planning Find & Finance for around 2 to 3 years prior to actually launching it. And my background in motor kind of taught me a few kind of key things and challenges within the industry. One being transparency. So there was a perceived lack of transparency within motor. Quite often the before sale communication's very good. Again, they're fairly transparent in the approach to the sale. But throughout the sale and the journey, the motor industry sort of lacks that air of transparency. So it was one of the core reasons why I wanted to do things the way that I've done it. The second main challenge was the consistent communication piece. So again, consistent communication before the sale was fairly regular, but then after sale, so when there's a problem, what happens next? So throughout that journey from start to finish, there seemed to be something lacking. And the final piece for me was more of a business related reason, which was the aging model of the buy and sell model within the motor industry. It just seemed to be seemed to present challenges, and the consumer just seemed to want more than that. They wanted more than just buy a vehicle, go to a dealership, purchase a vehicle, and nothing else happened. It just seemed like there was numerous challenges that just seemed to be present at the time. So when I started creating and thinking about Find & Finance, it was more about how can I address these challenges that are very common within the industry and bring something different and unique to quite an aging marketplace. So with the launch of Find & Finance, the vision was quite clear. It was to bring something that was service led, not sales driven, that was focused on the journey and the ownership cycle of the vehicle, and that's essentially what I brought into the market.
Yeah. And obviously the market's changed, as it always does in automotive, since you set up the business. I'm assuming that vision hasn't changed, but has it evolved in those years, reacting to market forces as well? And if so, can you give some examples?
Absolutely, yeah, it's evolved massively. When I first started the business, it was very much how as an individual. So I launched a business in June 2018 myself, and it was with that core vision to bring something quite unique into the industry. I.e. bringing a concierge-led, consultative style approach to that, to the consumer, the everyday market, and quite often at that time it was very much led by the consumer. So it was led by, okay, well, I want this, okay, I'm going to go and find you it. Whereas now, what the individuals and businesses, but I'll come on to that in a bit. But so sticking with consumers for a moment. Consumer wants to be led now. They want to be advised. They want to be led, and they want that expert in the picture with anything motor related. So common questions we typically get asked, especially here, is what do you advise? This is what I need as an individual. What's out there for me? So that advisory position is much more prevalent now. It's much more important. As well as that, we've got the rise of technology. Technology is a really big part of motor at the moment, and our business here is massively aligned with the technology out there, and we're utilizing it more from a data-driven perspective. So and metrics around the management side and the management cycles, repair cycles. So we're looking at preventative risk, preventative maintenance, rather than reactive maintenance.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, one thing to me that stands out, what you do is, everything that you say, whichever vertical you're in, you talk about, the experience has to be simple, safe, and special. And many businesses talk about customer experience, but can you go a bit deeper into the kind of processes that you've built around that? So the customer journey, whether it's prestige, commercial, or more generic cars, adapt to those promises that you make.
Yeah, of course. So just to substantiate simple, safe, special as well. So simple, safe, special is something that I built the entire business around. So from the very start, when I was thinking about what do people want, what does the industry need, what is going to add value to this market right now, it was those three particular words. It was, I need to create something that is easier. So, okay, how can somebody find a vehicle and manage a vehicle in a more simple way? How can we make it safer? So from a safety aspect, has it been looked after properly? So used vehicles, has it been maintained, cared for? How is it evidenced? How is it managed when there is a problem? So after sale, what's going to happen should my car break down? So all these questions that are commonly asked when someone's purchasing a vehicle, and then the special points of customer experience. And that's something which is so essential within automotive now. And I think it's more realised now, whereas back then, 8 years ago, it was very much on the transaction rather than the experience. Customer experience now is, for me, the statement is, and something which I'll commonly say within the team, people don't remember what you do for them, they remember how you make them feel. And that's a really important thing, within our business, is that the question that I always ask when we're looking to do a change, introduce something new, is how will it make the customer feel? So simple, safe, special is really important, and we build everything around it. And it's those three questions: how do we make it simpler, easier, an easier process for the customer? How do we make it safer? And how do we make them feel special?
Yeah. I mean, I think, what's really clear to me is, you're not really focused on the one-off transaction selling cars. You want to manage the whole experience. And when you look at your brochures, then there's a very clear and very detailed customer journey map as well, which I think is great. I mean, I'm guessing, do you think the markets realize now that managing outcomes is better than facilitating transactions, or do you still think there's a long way to go and you've still got that real competitive edge? Are people starting to catch on what you're doing with your model, and are you getting more competition around it?
Yes and no, and I'll answer both of those sides of the question. So yes, I mean, people are more aware of it, and I say more from a consumer perspective is that that's the need, that's the want, that's the desire. Is no longer do they want a transaction, they do want almost like a vehicle partner. It's a motoring partner. We're trying to position ourselves as the experts within the industry. So it's a case of similar. An example I often use is when you've got a problem with your bathroom or your plumbing, you call your plumber. They're the expert. You're not going to try that yourself. Maybe some people will, but not many people will try it themselves. We're positioned in that way within motor, is that we are the expert. So the market wants it, the market desires it. They want that managed convenience, expertise, and guidance to for security that they're doing the right thing. Now, whether the industry is moving towards that way, yes and no. So there are still many transactional models out there which they have a place in the industry, absolutely. So that's not us though. So that's not what makes us and identifies Find and Finance. But there's I think there's a place for both models, because essentially, a common saying in business is that you can't win them all. You're not right for everybody. So not every business is right for everybody, and you have to realize that. So it comes down to targeting and key targeting. So who's right for us and our business and our model, and then there'll be other consumers out there that are right for a more transactional led sales experience with another model.
Yeah. And maybe if we segue into the prestige market, you've developed Find and Finance Prestige, clearly serves customers buying high value and specialist vehicles. In terms of dealing with affluent customers, what's that taught you about customer experience? Do they want more choice, or do they just want somebody they can trust to curate choices for them?
I think within the prestige and luxury market, it's almost always the loyalty, trust, and experience. Most individuals, and I'll be saying this a lot today, but most I'll generalize. The averages dictate that the majority of high net worth individuals typically want to be serviced. So it's a service led, and a concierge style desire that they're after, essentially. And we've got a wealth, often connected to the commercial clients that we've got, of high net worth individuals who we supply luxury cars to, and they're busy, they're time constrained. Quite often the desire for the car as well is led by they've got the ability to purchase it, but do they have the know-how, the expertise on the vehicle itself? Probably not. But they'll know what they want, but they need someone to find it. So there's multiple different needs and requirements for these individuals, but at the end of the day, they're still people. And I think people are, whether it's a £50,000 car or a £300,000 supercar, most people think in very similar ways.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, again, taking your principles of the wider business and then applying that to commercial and fleet management, I guess many people just think that's about just the one-off fleet procurement issue, but I guess you've extended that into fleet acquisition, management, maintenance, compliance, remarketing. Again, can you explain in more detail how you've moved into that market, how your vision and principles are driving demand, and maybe where do you find the biggest inefficiencies within fleet operations, and how and when is the model most powerful?
Okay, so I'll start with the first bit. So I mean, yeah, there is a bit of a story behind how I got into fleet. Because when I launched a business, it was almost entirely individuals. I had no knowledge of vans, no knowledge of fleets or corporate fleets at all. I had knowledge of motor finance, but and cars. But when it came to vehicle fleet, it was an opportunity. One of my and again, just to context it, one of my common sayings in business is, if you want it enough, you'll make it happen. And this is exactly what happened with my fleet opportunity. I was actually networking. It was a business event, a networking event, and I got talking to a finance broker, and they just asked me the question. I've got a client. They're after 14 vans. It was actually 11 vans, light commercial vehicles, and 3 HGVs. And at that point in time, it took me 5 seconds to process the information and say yes. And the process was, okay, they've got engines, they've got gearboxes, they've got a chassis, they've got wheels. Yeah, I can do it. Yeah. Why not? And long story short, I ended up winning that deal. I got 11. There were brand new LCVs and 3 used HGVs at the time, and I made a net profit. So bearing in mind, at the time, I charged quite a low fee. It was like, it was a low margin for the work that I did in comparison to the hours that I spent. But with this particular deal, it was a full house deal. There was finance, there was the vehicle management fee, the conversion fee, the conversion margin that we make as well. So there's multiple margin streams or revenue streams within this deal. And as a business, and I generated almost £30,000 worth of net profit on that deal, and I couldn't believe it. It was absolutely, it was incredible. I couldn't believe the but also the return on the time as well. It was time efficient, and it was from that moment there that I started to realise that there's a market for what I'm doing within corporate fleets. And one of the biggest reasons why I won that deal, and that I started to really, I say, tell the story about and use as a case study, was the time element. It was an owner managed business, and he really had no time to do it. He was here, there, and everywhere, to procure and to go out to market and to find multiple prices, compare them, negotiate, drive them all down, with 5, 6, 7, 8 different suppliers and dealership chains, was just so time consuming. And then to then onward manage them throughout the ownership when there's problems, when there's maintenance problems, repair problems, vehicle, anything to do with the in-between cycle, for him was taking so much resource with individuals that weren't really employed to do that role. So we presented this solution for him to procure and manage, so procure, fund and manage, and it's taken all of that resource and it's freed it all up. And then, so to answer the second part of your question, that's essentially why I say the fleet management cycle for us is so critical. And the reason why it's so important for the majority of businesses now is that they're looking to free resources, and it's something that we're also doing within our business. We're looking to do what we're effective at and outsource. And you'll find a lot of businesses within the industry, within various different industries, are doing the same thing. They're looking to free up resources, do what they're effective at, and outsource the rest. So there's a real big market for our, I say, fleet management proposition. The two key metrics that tend to be, I say, focused on and analysed, especially in today's world, are average cost per repair and vehicle downtime, so average off the road time. So our systems are almost explicitly designed to enhance these two, so to reduce vehicle downtime and to reduce cost per claim, and that's what we structure our entire business around achieving.
No, it's impressive, and I guess we all know technology is evolving at a rapid rate at the moment, and will continue to do so. There's always discussion around automation, AI, replacing traditional customer interactions. Do you think the future will be fully digital, or will human relationships become more valuable as technology advances?
I've got a strong opinion on this, so yeah,
Go for it. Go for it.
So yeah, I think for it to be absolutely solely reliant on technology is unrealistic. So it's I mean, technology, AI is impressive. We're using it a lot here. We've got I'd say quite an aggressive overall technology AI plan and strategy. So yeah, we're using it a lot, and but we're using it for specific purposes, and they're most of the purposes are productivity related. Consistency, so to provide a consistent experience for the customer when it comes to anything documentation wise, compliance based stuff as well, so to ensure as a business we remain compliant, and the big one is data analytics, so the analytics of data and the analysis of data and how we use the data. When it comes to customer interaction, we couldn't run our business from an AI robot or an AI bot. It just wouldn't work. Wisdom and experience is far too important, especially when we're talking the large corporate fleet, fleet entities that we're dealing with. The reason we win these contracts and we integrate ourselves as a partner. It's not a sale to us; they're a partner. Every company we deal with, they come on board as a finance partner. We see them as our own fleet, and that is not achievable with a bot, or again, AI as such. But it can absolutely help it, and that's what we're using it for.
Yeah, I think that's very sensible. And I guess if we zoom out of the business and just think about your journey over the last 8 years, maybe we could talk about what your biggest lessons have been. And then if we sit down again in 5 years' time, what would Find and Finance look like in your view?
Yeah, so I mean, the journey from the launch of Fine and Finance has been, as I think most business owners and entrepreneurs will probably have a similar story to me, but it's been uh, probably the only way I can describe it is a roller coaster. So it literally is. I mean, you hear it a lot within business, but business is a roller coaster, and there's the most ecstatic highs and the most devastating lows. So it's been a real challenge. And when I first started the business, I mean, just a very short section on my background. So I've always had a sales, business development, account management background. And I'll be honest, I've always excelled in the roles that I've been in, and that's not because I've been the most experienced. It's not because I've been the best, actually. It's just because I've always had this desire to work harder than anybody else, to evidence to myself that I can achieve something. So that's kind of what pushed me forward in all my employed roles. So when I started Fine and Finance, that same kind of attitude and mindset followed me almost. It was okay at the start of the company. It was I am going to run and grow an international network of motor experts, and we're going to be recognised as the motor experts within the industry. I remember I got a few smiles at the time. Oh yeah, okay, dreamer. Yeah, it's a yeah, we've heard it all before and all that, and maybe start walk before you can run. All the common things you hear, and you go into it with absolutely zero negativity. There wasn't even an option for failure. It was okay. I've got this idea. I've got a brand. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to change the world. We're going to do it. That's it. Done. And you start, and that roller coaster starts. And then over the first 6 months, it's almost all excitement, and then your money starts to disappear, and not enough comes back in again. And that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, my first kind of big lesson in business was spending, I think, 10 grand on a marketing campaign that never worked, and the realization that is that what I need to be doing right now? Spending 10 grand on some leaflets and some boards and everything? No, it's not. Nobody knows me. Nobody trusts me. So that was a real big lesson learned. And it kind of set the scene for what was to come, really, which was lots of mistakes, lots of failures, and lots of lessons. And I think the crux of it was, I struggled. So over that first sort of 5 years, mentally, physically, it was the biggest challenge that I've ever experienced. The first 5 years running the business, I drank a lot, I smoked a lot, and I had some really hard lessons to face, and mental challenges to face, not just within the business but within my family and my personal life as well. The biggest probably impact to the or what's led me to where I'm at today is that decision to basically focus on me rather than just the business. So I made that decision to give up alcohol and to stop smoking, to start looking after me.
Yeah.
I read a book, and I think probably a lot of people will have read this within the business arena. But it's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and that was one thing that always stuck to me, was the final one, which was sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
And I think it's all good and well having a successful business or brand, a growing business, but if you're not mentally there and mentally productive, and you're not able to give everything that you possibly can to it, then it's all worthless. So that kind of hit me, and from that moment, so I quit drinking January 23, and from that point, everything just went from strength to strength, not just within the business, but within my personal life as well. It all just it got better. So I think that's probably the biggest lesson for me. So just to summarise that is within my journey and there are challenges now. There's lots of challenges now. Nothing is always it's nothing's simple, nothing's easy. But that's why we do what we do. We don't want an easy, simple life. We want to excel and we want to achieve something great. but the way it's managed and the expectation around failure is there now. So I expect it to happen, but we just have a system when it does happen. And I'd say probably like probably one of the biggest things that I learned over the last sort of, let's say, 5 to 8 years since I started the company was focus on yourself, and that'll look after everything else.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. And obviously on that high, I mean, you're very ambitious for the future as well. And in terms of next few years for Find and Finance, where do you see the business? Would you move into other verticals as you've done already, or do you just see growth within what you've built now?
For me, there's never a limit on success. So it's it's one of my core beliefs, not just in business but in life, is that don't limit yourself. And it's very much within the ambition of the business is that there's no limits on where Find and Finance can go to. We don't plan on just staying within motor, to be honest. I mean, motor's the start of it. Motors and automotive it's my background. Motor finance was where I came from. In regards to the next 3 years, it's very much motor related. What are we going to achieve in those next 3 years? The plan is to achieve, our position in the UK market as the household motor expertise brand when it comes to fully managed motoring. So our concept that we're bringing into the UK is a fully managed motoring experience for yourself and your business. So for consumer and the commercial markets, and that's the concept of owning a vehicle better. So not the concept of cheap vehicle, buy a vehicle, lease a vehicle, repair a vehicle, maintain a vehicle. It's the concept of a holistic approach of fully managed motoring, how to own your vehicle better, and then after the 3 years, position ourselves to launch in our first international territory. So we're gearing up for that already. We're planning it. We're creating a plan, an international growth plan already. That's a big part of our ambition. But really, as I said, there's no limit to what we're looking to do. We're looking to grow our brand globally, to open up into different markets, and to give this exceptional service to other markets around the world.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And Michael, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey. What you've built is really impressive. And what really strikes me is it's, a lot of people in automotive focus on product, channels, tech, but I think you've built a business around something far more fundamental, and that's kind of trust and partnership. I think that's really valuable. So if anybody's interested in Find and Finance or your journey, etc., what's the best way to get in touch if they're interested in the service offering?
Of course, the first and foremost, visit our website. There's multiple. So there's our main contact form. We open the door to any question. You don't have to be in the market to purchase anything from us. It could be a general question around automotive related stuff. And we'd be happy to answer it. So just get in touch on the website. We've got our social channels as well on Facebook, so at Find and Finance UK on Facebook. We've got TikTok as well, and Instagram. So we've got and LinkedIn. So we've got all the Facebook social channels. But the core way, get in touch with us on the website, and we'll have a chat.
That's great. Okay, thanks for joining us on Ignite&Scale, Michael.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it.
If you want to listen to more episodes of the podcast, we're on all good audio platforms. Our website is also www.cambriaprivatecapital.com, and you can also find myself on LinkedIn and Twitter, where we publish our weekly blogs as well. Please do get in touch if you want more information.